have a very simple belief in life, and it is a matter of being true to what it is you believe. You need to be true to your beliefs. If you, or lack of belief if you want. If I were, see, I'm not an atheist, but I imagine if I were an atheist, I'd be true to that. I would really be true to that. I would consider anybody who believes in something that just clearly and truly does not exist to be, nuts, a complete nutcase. I would consider that. And I would ridicule it, because if that's what it requires, that you have to constantly ridicule other people because they believe in God. You have to tell them that they believe in an invisible man, and, all the stuff. I found the stuff that George Carlin says to be very funny. He's one of my favorite comedians. The things he says about religion, because he's making a very good point. Now, it's kind of funny. I found that to be very funny, and yet I'm not an atheist. Because it's so true. It shows a lot of the flaws in human thinking about things. There are a lot of interesting things when you look at the history of the Bible and stuff like that. A lot of text, for example, in the Bible that was actually left out of it. There are lots of things that weren't put in the Bible. Lots of religious stuff. There's lots of things that, so it gets to the question, how can we be true if we're Christians? For those of us who are Christians, how can we be true to the Christian religion? I'm not really here to answer any of those questions. I'm not really going to answer the question except to say this: be true to your philosophy, be true to your religion, or be true to your belief or your worldview. Be true to it. Be true to it. And if you find that you can't really be true to it, then you know it's false. If you can't really live in harmony with that, you know it's false. One of the reasons why I dropped the Jehovah's Witness is because I just couldn't go along with that stuff. I could not go along with this ideal of denying someone a blood transfusion because God said so. I just couldn't go along with that. I don't care what the book, even if you could show me a passage that actually said, thou shalt not have a blood transfusion. No, that's not what it says. It says, of the blood thou shalt not eat. And that's what it says. I don't remember the exact passage in the Bible. People who are Jehovah's Witnesses can bring it up and post it in the comment section. But I just couldn't go along with that. So I had to drop that. There are lots of other things I can't go along with. For example, ridiculing other people because they think different or because they have a different worldview. I can't go along with that. One thing that I'm true to is I'm true to the ideal of positive thinking and having a positive outlook on life, because I think that's important. It's one of the things that helped me to get through depression, helped me get through overcoming anxiety attacks. And I said before, I was able to travel, all the way to Japan, all the way around the world. And by the way, let me tell you the story about the thing about Japan. When I used to suffer from anxiety attacks, I originally began this process of overcoming that back in 1986, which is why, by the way, my username is PHLewis86, because it represents that time in which I overcame that problem. Began a step-by-step process. When I went to Japan, that was in 2004. That was 18 years later. So I didn't have as one person put it, an epiphany. I didn't have that. I thought that was kind of funny. I laughed. I was rolling on the floor laughing when I read that. But anyway, the thing is, I didn't have an epiphany. But I think sometimes when I tell the stories, I tell it and I don't give the timeline of what happened. But it was a process. But it took a lot of having a positive thinking, positive attitude, because it was step by step, by encouraging myself and by getting around people who were also encouraging me and giving me positive feedback. So I'm really true to that. That's kind of, I suppose if I could say, like, I have a religion, because I don't have a religion really. I do believe in God, but I don't really have a religion, so to speak. I'm kind of somewhat Christian, I guess you could say. But my thing is that my religion is positive thinking. Think positive. Now, I kind of agree with a lot of stuff. I was looking through Barbara Enright's book called Bright-Sided, and I agree with a lot of stuff she says. I think that sometimes people can get crazy about things. I actually have a copy of The Secret, by the way. the book, and I have seen the DVD. I've actually watched the whole thing. And it's all, great entertainment. But you know what? Some of it I disagree with. Because one, it focuses too much on materialism. As if somehow that's going to make you happy. And it really isn't. Second of all, it's not very realistic. It's like jumping these gaps. It's just blissing out, sitting around blissing out on a happy attitude and things like that. And that's not going to help you. I've gone through a lot of stuff. For example, I have control of my blood sugar. A couple of years ago, my blood sugar was out of control. And basically, if I hadn't gone to the doctor, I would be dead right now. I wouldn't be making videos. But what helped me to stick to the routine, stick to what the doctor said, was having a positive attitude. Now, just being positive would not have helped me. It would not have gotten my blood sugar levels down. What it took was action, taking insulin, watching carbohydrate intake, exercising, doing everything I have to do. Those are the things I had to do. Plus, having a positive attitude, because that encouraged me to stick to the routine. Every time I go to the clinic, I'm around people whose blood sugar is out of control. They've been diabetic longer than I have. And yet they have such a negative attitude, and the results show. They don't have that type of encouragement. Now, there are people who do have good control, and those are people who have family, friends who help them and encourage them to stick to a good diet, to stick to a good routine. So, positive thinking isn't just going off on some really weird tangent and being crazy. And, there's another thing, too, I want to get into. And this is the thing about being the savior of the world. I'm not out to save the world. If the world should explode suddenly, it's going to explode. And all the positive thinking or negative thinking in the world isn't going to save it. If there was a comet the size of Canada headed toward the Earth, and it was going to hit us and destroy all life, and NASA couldn't send up any rockets to blow up anything. It wouldn't be like in the movies. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen. All the positive thinking in the world isn't going to save everybody. I used to work with a lady who practically, she almost had a nervous breakdown trying to be the savior of the world, trying to be the Jesus Christ of the world. She wants to be the savior. Now, there are a lot of people who can take on that role, even if you're an atheist. If you feel like you have to fix every problem in the world, you're going to wind up having a nervous breakdown like that woman did. Like my boss. She was my supervisor. The thing is that, and it was so interesting, the people who were able to keep their cool, in the job I was in, because we had to work in the community and help people, the people who kept their cool, those are the ones who were more effective. Someone who gets out there with this tremendous sense of urgency, oh my God, I've got to fix everything. Those people are not very effective. And that's my point. I got to answer this call.